Welcome. I am Joan Spurl. I am Director of Dolly Parton's Imagination Library at the Literacy Cooperative. We are Dolly's local program partner for Cuyahoga County. We have 39,000 children out of about 66,000 eligible that are enrolled in the program in Cuyahoga County. So as you can tell, we have a lot of children enrolled, but we have a lot of children who are missing out. So we need all the help we can get in spreading the word to other families. Sometimes people hear about it and they don't follow through and sign up their child. So we welcome your assistance on social media or in your networks. If you're parts of organizations, churches, others, please encourage people to sign up. Our commitment to Dolly is to get as many children signed up for the program as possible. There are some people who hold back because they think they're taking something from someone else. That's not the attitude we want you to have. We need all families to fall in love, all children to fall in love with real print books, reading and learning from an early age, especially in this age of technology, which is not great for building young children's brains. So please help us spread the word. We love to be able to do special programs like this with you and for you. I think I don't know if any of you know, but I'm a former kindergarten teacher and preschool and Head Start teacher. I taught kindergarten for 10 years and Head Start and state pre-K in the Chicago public schools. And I used music in my classroom all the time. I mean, it was through the day. I had so much fun with my kindergarten students in music, and they did too. And with my child and with children I babysat for and cared for. It is magical. It's great for, well, you're going to learn about why it's so great, and you're going to learn some great tips. I met Dr. Lisa Koops years ago when our children were at the same preschool, the music settlement, and am so excited to see all the work that she's been doing, all she's been learning, all she's been sharing with families in different ways. And she's going to tell you about that tonight and give you some great tips and resources. At the end of the evening, if you can stick with us through the whole time, there's going to be a survey link. And if you fill that out thoroughly, there's a place for you to put your contact info in, and you will be entered in a drawing for one of 5 of Lisa's recently published book called Parenting Musically. And we'll tell you more about some other things she has coming up. But I am so happy to welcome her, and I am grateful to have her here. And I'm going to let her further introduce herself and get on with the program. Thanks all.
All right. Thanks so much, Joan, and thanks for the invitation. It's great to be here with you, and I want to give you an overview of tonight. My goal for you is that you can learn how music can be used in relationships for your child, relationship with him or herself or themselves, children between themselves, and then child to adult. We'll also practice music activities that can promote learning and enjoyment with toddlers and preschoolers especially. I'm doing another session in 2 weeks focused on infants. Some of the stuff tonight will apply to infants, but if you have an infant, I would encourage you to come back in 2 weeks. That will take about a half hour, and then we'll have some questions and answers at the end. A little bit about me. I'm the mom of 4 kids who are currently 18, 13, 11, and 9. I started doing this research when my oldest daughter was 2, so I just had 1 at the time. And so the research has really grown as my family has grown, and it's been very influenced by being a parent. A lot of it is moments of frustration or desperation or just like, what am I going to do to get these kids in the car? I need a song to help me. So you'll hear a lot of that real practical application tonight. I'm also an early childhood music teacher at the Music Settlement. I formerly taught general music at an elementary school, and I'm currently a professor of music education at Case Western Reserve University. I've written 2 books. The first one in 2020 called Parenting Musically. My 13-year-old has told me she considers that the boring version. And then my new one, 2024, A Family Guide to Parenting Musically, is the more exciting version. So she says, don't bother with the first one, just read the second one. And I will say I agree with that because in the second one, I've taken all my best ideas from all those roles I mentioned, being a mom, being an early childhood music teacher, et cetera, and put it into the book in the most practical and friendly way that I can. So I really hope that people will use it and find things that fit them for children birth to age 12 especially. I also have a podcast that I would invite you to check out. It's called Parenting Musically. Same, same title, and my social media is listed there too. On the podcast, I've had the chance to interview musicians and their parents, people like Maggie Baird, who's Billie Eilish's mom, Ziggy Marley, Roseanne Cash, and then also combine that with reflections from researchers. So you get to hear a little bit of music ed research woven in with stories from people that we like to hear from. So to start, I'd like to agree on some things. All people are musical. Yes, you are musical. If you were told as a child you can't sing, if you were ever told you can't carry a tune, if you were asked to be quiet at a concert, I would like to apologize on behalf of the music education profession. That is absolutely not okay for a teacher to say. Music is something that belongs to every human being. It's part of who we are as human beings. And it is also something we learn. So if you were told that you couldn't sing in tune, guess what? It's because the teacher hadn't tried the techniques that would help you to learn. If you were told that you weren't being musical, well, maybe the teacher hadn't taught you yet. So music is something that belongs to all of us, that we can all learn. And it's so important to me that we can agree that music is a part of our lives. And I think a way that can help people to understand and agree to that is that there's many ways to be musical: singing, chanting, rapping, dancing, moving, listening to all kinds of music, playing, playing instruments, playing games, and creating music. Then the third thing is music is important. All music is important. I will say again, on behalf of the music education profession, if you were ever told that the music you love was not as beautiful or worthy or impressive as some other music, a lot of times, unfortunately, people put classical music on a pedestal. That's all part of our Western European structures and oppression. Your music that you are interested in is important, and it's wonderful that you are interested in it. And you don't have to play classical music for your child. There's a lot of people that think, oh no, I didn't play classical music when I was pregnant. Will my child ever be able to succeed? There's no concrete research that shows that there's an advantage to hearing classical music when you're in the womb. There's no concrete research that shows that there's benefits to being a classical musician or to playing music. There is research that shows benefits to music broadly. So yes, to music in our lives, but let it be the music that you love. And then the fourth thing is we can shift how we use music in our lives. So if you're one of those people that was told you weren't musical, you can close that chapter and say, I am going to be a musical person. And I've known people who had this experience. A teacher told them not to sing at the concert. They went through many years not feeling comfortable singing in public, and then were enrolled in an early childhood class with a grandchild. And it turns out as the child was doing the activities, the grandparent was learning to find their singing voice, learning to sing in tune, and opened up this possibility of feeling comfortable singing and making that part of their lives. So we can change, we can add, we can try new things. And as I'm saying that, I'm thinking of how this applies to me in other areas like exercise, soccer, pickleball. Like those are not my strengths right now, but I can change, I can add, I can grow, I can work on the exercises, I can get better. So I would invite you, if you're comfortable throughout this presentation, feel free to interact in the chat, interact with each other. I won't be seeing it, but I might be able to see it later. But if you'd like to put in there what music is important to you and your family, I think it's really exciting to think about extended families and like, is there an artist or a genre that it's always been important to your family? And when you get together, you always listen to that music or you go to those concerts? Or do you have something that's really particular to you? Does your child have something that they've already identified that's really particular to them? And also any reflections on what ways you like to engage with music. If you'd like to put them in the chat, feel free, no obligation. So as we go through tonight, I want you to think about being a researcher with your own family. There's lots of research studies, and I'll share some of the results. There's some in the book. But I guess I'm a little bit of maybe a skeptic or practical when it comes to the research studies. And I think it's fine if a researcher found XYZ, but does it work with my child? So for example, some researchers have studied in a lab, when a child is crying, are they more likely to be calmed by a familiar song or an unfamiliar song? And are they more likely to be calmed by a peppy play song or by a soothing lullaby? And actually, researchers have done it multiple times, and they've found conflicting results. So there's no consensus yet. But as I read it, I just think, well, let me try it. my child is crying. And I actually did this with my kids. They were older when I had read it, but one of them was upset. And I just started singing this crazy song. And they all just looked at me and said, "What is going on?" And I said, "Oh, I was trying to replicate some research to find out what would happen when you were upset if I sang a fun song." So it was a strange moment for them. But I would encourage you, as you come across research, maybe research about listening to music can help children to focus during homework. That's not all children, and different music might help different children. So try it, see what works for your family, and stay open to ideas. This is shows you when I did research for my first book, I was really interested in how families use music in their lives. I don't want to spend too long on this. And if you are interested, my podcast episode 1.5 and 2.5, I talk about this framework. But the thing that I think is pretty interesting is, what is your goal in a musical activity? If you've even thought about it. And I'm saying if you've even thought about it, because a lot of times I'm not aware of that when I'm trying to get through a situation as a parent when there's so much going on. But if you stop and think, okay, what's my goal here? Is my goal to develop musical skills? Is my goal to quiet down a fight among children? And thinking about what the goal is, I think is interesting, that you can use music for all sorts of situations, both musical and unmusical goals. You can still use the music. And then likewise, I think it's really interesting to think about, as we're doing this music making together or musicking, are we building relationships, or is this more of a practical thing? Like, we need to clean the house, nobody's in the mood, we're going to put on our favorite music and help to pass the time. Oh, but actually, as we're doing that together, we are building memories, we're building relationships. So for the families in my study, the ones that were able to have blended goals and outcomes motivations, they seem to express the most satisfaction and also had the most sustained involvement over a number of years. So again, if you're interested in that, I'm happy to talk more about that. But let's just dive into some ideas here. So music and relationships. Thinking about the relationship that your child has with himself, herself. You might hear them singing in their crib or bed, and researchers call these crib songs. It can be really sweet if you're able to record these or listen on the baby monitor. It's the child processing their day, and music is an early way that children communicate to others, but also to themselves. That graduates into something that researchers call little songs, which is funny because it's such a casual name. But little songs are those songs that children make up and sing throughout the day. It could be something that is repeated many days in a row, but it could be this continuous fluid narrative. And again, it could be fun for you to document those with videos or to create a little digital album. The last thing I want you to think about is, as your child grows, helping them to express their musical preferences. And I had one research family who kept a playlist for each child, and they just really paid attention in the car on the way to daycare. Did their child enjoy the song? Were they kicking along? Even as babies, like, were they kicking along? Were they vocalizing a little bit? Or did they just not like that song? And so then they could have snapshots of the playlist throughout the years to remember, oh, this is when she really started to like Beyonce, and this is when she became really interested in this artist. Child-child relationships, of course, are very important, and music can play a role. A fun one, I think, is a rhythm instrument parade. It could be outside. That's a practical mom thing for me. So these are like, the little rhythm sticks and tambourines and all of that. And you could also use found instruments, pots and pans. It can give a child a chance to be a leader. If one child kind of gathers their siblings or their neighbors and then says, okay, let's make a parade, so they can express leadership. Conducting is a really fun one. And if any of you have children near you right now, and if you could put on some music in the background, I'm curious if you could teach them a little bit of conducting. So really, it can just be like this. If you want to get fancy, look on YouTube for conducting patterns. There's different patterns for 2, 3, and 4 beats to the measure. But this was something we did when my kids were little. My older daughter was 7 and my younger daughter was 2. And my younger daughter would conduct my older daughter while she played her violin. And she was old enough that she could kind of understand how it was a game. And when her younger sister stopped her hands, she would stop playing the violin. And so then, of course, the younger child would beam that she was in control. And then the younger child would, do fast or big to show loud. So it's a way to communicate, and this can also be with a younger child, and an adult can do this, singing, playing a guitar, playing the piano. And anytime you can give a child a chance to express a level of control, I think it is really powerful and exciting for the child because much of their lives is not in their control. They just get stuck in the car, buckled in, here we go. They didn't choose to go to that place at that time. They didn't choose to eat this food at this time. So when we can give kids choices, it's really important. A couple other ideas there, but I'm going to keep moving here. This is the heart of it, the child-adult relationship. Music can be such an important part. Lullabies, I think, are a very natural one. I would encourage you to practice those. If you're not used to doing lullabies, I would practice it when you are not too tired. I find it's really hard to do new things when I'm tired. So sometimes I would practice something and just have it in mind. And then when I need to pull it out, it's ready to go. Dance parties are great. You can see in the picture here, a mother and daughter having a dance party. Moving and freezing is another way to do control. So have the child press the pause button on the phone to stop the music, and then all the adults stop, and the child gets a big kick out of that. Music is a great way to connect with folks that are far away through video call. Having, even when you have an infant, to have grandparents or family or friends sing to them over the video call or make recordings and send that to you so that they can be hearing their voices and be part of their lives. Listening to music in the family vehicle is another great way to build the relationship and to talk about it. And this can happen pretty early on. You know, you could say to a 3-year-old, did you hear that trumpet? So that would be a way to introduce the idea of a trumpet, and they could be hearing the trumpet. Later, you could go and look up a picture of it. Or, oh, this music is so fast. This music is so slow, and introducing things, and then listening to your child because they will have wonderful observations about music that you might not think of. Having a family playlist is great, lots of family playlists, so that you have them for different occasions. And then if you have family members who sing, play instruments, or dance, if you can find ways for your child to get to see them, hear them, interact with them, it's another way to deepen the relationship. Also, your child has relationships with their community. You know, at first as an infant, they're so close just to you, and then their world starts to grow. So think about opportunities to hear live music in the community. I think with kids, if it's outdoors, if you can do it outdoors or in a setting that you'll feel comfortable, and the child, you know, you won't worry about being disruptive. Outdoors is great for that. Also, if your child is sensitive to sound, being outdoors can be nice because then you can walk away if it's too loud. Sometimes in a restaurant, if there's a live band, it's really, you know, too much for the kids. But they make great headbands. You probably know about these. Maybe somebody could put it in the chat. The baby earphones that can help with sound for kids because you want to be careful of their hearing and of their ears. Another thing would be for them to see people musicking, that's that word, music making, in group settings. So dancing at celebrations, karaoke, religious settings, just all these places that people make music, introducing that to kids early on so they can see how people make music an important part of their lives. And also making connections with places kids already know. So if they are familiar with a library and you see that there's going to be a musical event at the library, making a point to do that, because for some kids, being in a familiar place is important when they're encountering something new. So that way they're not having a totally new experience by going somewhere they've never been before and hearing instruments they've never heard. If you can reduce the variables for some kids, that can be really helpful. All right, so I'm going to move on with music and routines. This is my favorite thing. The only two things I hope you take away for sure is everyone is musical and then this little chant. So I will say it and then I'm going to have you say it. I learned it from a music teacher. So I learned it as make a circle, but we're going to say come to the table. Come to the table and don't be late. By the time I count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, will you do it with me? Here we go. Come to the table and don't be late. By the time I count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I need to do a separate research study on why this works. I'm very curious, but I think it has something to do with the sense that the music is asking the child to do something rather than you asking the child to do something. But I'm astonished at how a child, perhaps one of mine, I will not name names, could hear me say something and just keep on doing a puzzle. But when I do this chant, would get up and move to the potty or to the table or to the get the shoes or whatever it was. So we did this for years and we would substitute every possible direction. And then sometimes we would count slower. So um, pack up your backpack and don't be late by the time I count to 8. 1, 2. So if you know your child needs longer, we would count in other languages. We would make up funny sounds like get in the bathtub, by the time I bubble to 8. Part of that is interest for the child, but frankly, part of it is also interest for the parent, so that if you're doing something over and over, you can keep it kind of fun for yourself. Another one is making up new words to a tune you know. You can do this with so many songs. So Baby Shark as an example, put on boots, do, 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 put on boots, do, do. I'm just going to stop right there so it doesn't get in our heads. But doing something that you're able to do a bunch of verses, Wheels on the Bus would be another one. It helps teach sequencing of actions. And so if you do it in the same order every time, the kids learn, we put on this, and then we put on this, and this, and this. So on that same topic, dressing, you could do new words to hokey pokey. You put your first arm in, don't take your first arm out. You put your first arm in and you shake it all about. And then you keep going with the hokey pokey. You could have a playlist specifically for getting ready. And then you and your child know, okay, we have this long. This would probably be more like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. We have these 2 songs. We know how long they have. And then here's a picture list of what we need to do. We need to get dressed and brush teeth and put on shoes or whatever it is you want them to do. Start with just one thing, then maybe add 2. And it can become a little bit of a game. Can we finish this by the time the song is done? And here's another moment where you can let your child choose the song because of that importance of a child having power, control, and authority. But you might make the playlist so you have you've approved the songs. I there's certain songs that I just say no, no, because I think as parents, if something drives you super duper crazy, then just say save that for when you're not with me. But yeah, I'll leave it there. So toileting, I've been through toilet training 4 times. I gotta say, it is a special time of life, and I found it to be super stressful. So think about maybe having a playlist that you put on that would be very calming to you as a grown-up, or very hilarious to you as a grown-up, whatever. Maybe you have both, just to help you keep your perspective on like it's all gonna be okay in the end, even though it's so stressful right now. There are so many potty training songs on YouTube. It's funny actually to look. So find something that you like. Maybe it's a character your child likes. Maybe it's a rock. Maybe it's whatever it is that you like, or make up your own song. I've had families that I've worked with who've made their own song together with their child, and that works really well too. Tidying, I'm not a fan of the Barney Tidy song that everybody uses. That's just one of those that drives me crazy. So my husband actually created a chant for music and movement class, and I'm going to teach it to you. It's spoken, it's not sung. Hokey pokey, what a mess. What are we ever gonna do? And if you've got a child and a mess near you, you could actually try it. Aha, clean up. Gather, 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 fill. So like if you're filling a box with magnet blocks or toys, look, gather, 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 fill, look, and then you can do it as many times as necessary or until you are sick of the song. So my husband was a stay-at-home dad the first 3 years of our oldest child. And you can tell like he did a lot of cleaning up with her. And so he figured out like, what is it we need to do? We gather things, we put them somewhere, we fill the box, and then we have to look around because there's more things to do. So if you enjoy this, feel free to use it. Feel free to make your own, have your own fun recorded song. It doesn't have to be anything about cleaning. You could just have this, the song Happy by the song Happy. And then when we put that on, we clean. We all know that. Another routine would be separating. So meaning saying goodbye to people, having to leave the playground, saying goodbye to things like we need to put away the Play-Doh can be very, very hard for kids. And so you could use a song to you could repeatedly use a song in lots of situations to say goodbye. So this is the Frere Jacques tune. We'll do Play-Doh, but you could substitute grandma, playground, whatever you're saying goodbye to. Goodbye, Play-Doh, see you soon, see you soon. I had so much fun, I had so much fun, see you soon, see you soon. And you could pick a song, a different song that you like, and just put in some sort of goodbye. And then this one, I think, is still poignant to me as an adult. My parents live in Michigan, 5 hours away. And when we love to visit them, and when we're driving away, it's still really hard after 18 years for me to say goodbye to them and be driving away that first stretch of road. So have something ready to go that's going to comfort you and your children after a goodbye. And think about what would help. Do you need something familiar? Do you need something brand new? Do you need something soothing? Do you need something distracting? But using music and really being mindful of it's hard to say goodbye, and that music can be a balm or comfort. Another time when kids need comfort is when they get hurt. So I would sometimes make up a song to narrate what was happening, like, oh no, and just totally making this, oh no, Kip hurt his knee, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Do we need a doctor? Do we need an ambulance? Let's get some ice, ice, ice. So it can be just totally wild. But it can give you a little bit of time to evaluate, is this actually a big injury, or is this just, we need to brush it off? And I did this also with this little light of mine. I would sing it through and keep track of how many times through I got until my daughter calmed down. And usually she would calm down within 2 times. With like when she was like 18 months old, she was always splitting her lip and falling over and pulling chairs over. And usually 2 times through she was settled. If it was 4 or 5 times through, I'd realize, okay, this is more than normal. I need to, check in maybe with a nurse on call at the pediatrician's office or pay more attention. But I tended to be a very anxious parent. And so if I just told myself, we're going to give 2 times through the song before I start to panic, well, not panic anyway, not a good plan, but 2 times through, and then we'll go from there. So playing is another routine. You could do an opera, kind of similar. I couldn't find any dinosaurs, but I have a robot and Goofy. So when I played with my kids when they were really little, I guess maybe I'm not no, I won't say I'm not a creative person. I'm a creative person, but it's hard for me to think of things on the spot when I'm playing. And so I like to have formula sometimes. So we used to do this dinosaur opera with the dinosaurs I can't find. And that just gave me a structure. So I'd say, let's play dinosaur opera. And then I knew what I was supposed to do. And my children knew what they were going to do. And that structure was helpful to me rather than just like open playtime with a 2-year-old. So maybe like, I am a robot. I cannot sing. Oh, yes, you can sing, and just making up these crazy things. And then your children can start doing it too. Found sounds in nature can be a lovely thing while you're playing, looking for things in nature that can make sounds, like maybe a stick, scraping it in different ways, creating music. And then singing books. There's so many beautiful children's books that are already songs. So I have just a few. So Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, there's all these extra verses. This is a really old one, Row, Row, Row Your Boat, with extra verses. But also keep in mind that the book might not have a song that goes with it, but you can add a song. So this is an imagination library book that one of my children got years ago. And there's a repeated line in here where Miss Maple says, take care, my little ones. Miss Maple says, for the world is big and you are small. So she says that over and over throughout the book. And that's something that you could just create a little tune or even a little rhythm. It wouldn't have to be a tune. It could be a chant or a rap where you say, take care, my little ones, for the world is big and you are small. Take care, my little ones, for the world is big and you are small. And it can just be your own, just unique to your own family. And that can also give you fun things. Some of those that we have, we still just remember those little bits now that the kids are older, and we come back to them. So it builds relationships too. So to wrap it up, let's remember all people are musical. Yes, you. There's many ways to be musical. music is important. All music is important. And we can shift how we use music in our lives. So I'm curious, what ideas from tonight would you like to try with your family? And what questions do you have about children and music? And with that, I would love to take some questions.
Great, thank you, Lisa. And so go ahead and if you have questions, put them in the Q&A. Oh, we have one, yay. And I'm gonna make a comment later because I often do that as a former kindergarten teacher and mom. Will the infant one be through Imagination Library as well? Yes, we will be sending out information for registration about that soon. We're pulling that together. So we will be offering that. And I started with music with my son when he was an infant. He was immersed in it. So, but as a kindergarten teacher, so I'll just, if other people have other questions, please go ahead and put them in. I just, um, I, as a former kindergarten teacher and as a director of Imagination Library, where I get to have my little place to talk about this, I really love, I believe in exposing children to the richness of the world. And so as a kindergarten teacher and a preschool teacher, I exposed my children to all kinds of music from around the world. I really wanted them, I wanted to show them, I wanted to provide a window and a mirror in my classroom so that their family culture might be reflected in the classroom, but that also um, they would learn about so many other types of music and be able to make decisions about what they liked. And we often danced to and moved to different kinds of music. So um, I had, we played the four seasons in different seasons and they'd act out the music for the season and with their bodies and it was a blast. So, all right, I think I see in chat there's some questions and there's more questions here. So let's see. Should the music playlist be constant? Mornings are tough in my home. Do you find a constant playlist or a variety more helpful?
That's a great question. So mornings are tough. I resonate with that. I think that's an area to be the researcher with your family. And so try one way and then try a different way. And as much as you can figure out if it was the music, if there's a difference, think was it the music that made a difference or did actually we all slept better that night? But you can also just, try something for a week and then try something else for a week. And I would encourage you also to think about having the music on at times, but also at times to have quiet, because then that's when the kids are able to be processing everything, not just the music, processing life, processing the family, and thinking it through. So I don't recommend having music on all the time. And I think as the parent, your own experience and your own energy or stress have such an impact on your family. So I mornings have been tough for us lately. And I just started thinking, I'm going to put on the music that would be helpful to me. And then I find, oh, I'm now able to just be such a much more relaxed parent. And so that's helpful to everyone. So, and then gradually I've chosen several songs and then someone else will choose a song. So I would say give it a try different ways.
And yeah, it's funny because I'm from the era when my child was growing up, it was all CDs.
Yeah,
It wasn't there wasn't an iPhone. It's not that long ago, but
right.
I had tons of different kinds of CDs. So we tried different things at different times. And I'll have after another question, I have another thought to offer from that I used in my classroom. Um, are there any resources for children born hard of hearing is another question.
Excellent question. That is not something that I specialize in, but I did have a student in my music and early childhood class last year at Case Western Reserve who is training to be a specialist in audiology. And she did projects relating to music and children with cochlear implants and children who are deaf and hard of hearing. So there are definitely resources, and Joan, I'd be happy to look into those resources more if this individual would want to private message you, and then
Yeah.
I could send them to you and you could send them on. So I apologize, I don't have um, specific resources right off the bat. I do know that children who are hard of hearing, deaf with cochlear implants, all across that spectrum, um, can experience music, especially through the vibrations. And so there are special programs and special ways of experiencing the music. But I will I will look into that more and then share that out.
Yeah, and if you for the person who asked that question, if you want to include that in your survey response when you fill out our survey later, and share it, there's a place for you to put your contact info, then I'll be able to help get that to you.
One
Um,
more thing on that. There's a field of music called music therapy that um, specializes in music to help with non-musical goals, but also to provide adaptations for persons with disabilities. And so I can include some information there as well. But music therapy sessions could be a great resource for a child who's deaf or hard of hearing to be able to experience music in the way that's best for them.
Great. Here's another question, and I'll get to the others that are in the chat too. We have a bilingual family. How would you recommend a way to effectively incorporate both languages?
Great. So both languages, as far as the music.
Yes, I think that's
Yes.
what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really exciting. And I think it would be great to be really thoughtful about that with the music and about what is the music that's important to you and to your partner, and then go out a generation or two and find out, what are the songs that were sung to your partner, what are the songs that were sung to you, and make that part of your family's music, either that you are singing to your child or that you find some recordings. And if you it's such an amazing time in music that we can find these recordings. I think you've probably everyone on this call has experienced this. Like they'll think of something from their childhood and then they'll find it on YouTube and think, there it is, just like when I was 6. So being able to bring those into your playlists and then tell your children, this was this special thing for me when I was in the car with my parents, or here's the situation where we listened to this music. And yeah, I think that's a beautiful idea to be really intentional about incorporating music from both languages and both cultures.
Great. Our daughter often says different one when we start one of our lullabies. So we usually switch it up, take a request, etc. Any advice on bedtime song and selecting, but also she had reselecting, in parentheses, reselecting.
Yes. Thank you for that question. And I have heard from a lot of parents similar situations, some where the child, like the dad is a professional guitarist, and the 2-year-old, every time the dad starts playing, the 2-year-old runs to the room and says, "Stop, dad," and just does not want to hear this beautiful music that dad plays. Or a child saying in the car, "Stop singing." I had that with my own kids. And I thought, I was a vocal major in college. Clearly, I feel good about my voice. And now my children don't like my voice. Oh no. But I think it can be amazing. So I would say, first, don't take it personally if your child asks you to stop singing or just to sing a different one. It might be that it's a moment of control for your child, and maybe you play along that there's you decide, okay, you get um, one change of lullaby, and maybe you even make a token that your child she can hold, and like, here's your change token, and if you want to change, you hand it to me, and then I'll switch, but only one time or something like that, so that it doesn't get too out of hand.
I have another thought, and this might
Yeah.
be good for the next question as well. So, and I had a repertoire of songs and lullabies I sang to my son, and he got to choose from that repertoire each night which ones I would sing probably two or three songs to him. But I also did that in my kindergarten. And we would sing at group time, but also I sang to them at nap time. And I had a song request box in my classroom.
Oh,
So I had a list of the songs. So this is a great literacy activity for kids who are old enough to even scribble. Um, so I this is so children could put they would have to write on a piece of paper, fold it up, and put it in through the hole in the song request box. Um, for me then to find when it was group time and or nap time for me to sing their request. And we'd mix it up and make sure that children got turns, but they didn't have to write the whole thing out, but I did put it out it was on a sheet so they could reference it and copy down as much as they could. And it was motivation then for them to practice writing. Um, and also trying to decipher the letters. You know, I would put them in alphabetical order and try to help them figure it out. And then, you know, they could even draw a picture of something that's in the song or in one letter if they wanted. You know, it was depending on the child's abilities, but um, that was one thing I did, and there might be variations on that you could do so that again, you know, you have some control, they have some control.
Yeah, I was thinking even for the original question, if they had 5 lullabies, if they could make a little picture card for each one,
Right,
and
right,
then she could choose one of those, or maybe she could choose two of them.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and here's just another in the chat. I had so this is related, and that so the question, my answer there hopefully helped them, but you might have more ideas. I have two kids, 3-year-old girl and 8-year-old boy. My problem is that the two kids listen to different genres of music and often argue over which songs to choose in the car. Any suggestion for this problem?
Yes, I've been there. I know that is hard. I think you could keep a chart in the car and just, okay, he chose last time, she chooses this time. Um, I think it's hard because so I have 4 kids and some of them have very strong preferences. And so I had to really talk with them about, even though you have such a strong preference about this, we do need to let each person take a turn. Um, and you could always say, let's work together to find music in the car that we listen to that we all agree with. And then if I just have you in the car, if we're going to an appointment, or if it's just you going to daycare, then we can listen to your music. But I think it can be good if you can throw in times where you say, we're not going to listen to music, we're going to listen to the sounds around us, or we're going to think of our own music, maybe sing our own songs together. Um, there's, in children's literature, these wonderful examples of families singing together in days gone by before the iPads in the car and everything on long trips, singing songs together. So if you can get that started early, I think that's a great idea. And then also saying, it was your turn, it was her turn, and now it's my turn. And then that could be a chance for where you introduce music that you like and also music that maybe could be the common ground.
Yeah.
But
And
that
or
is a tough
introducing
one.
yourselves to something new, you know, like try
Mhm.
something totally um new. And there's just, yeah, there's from a different country or, you know, a different style
Yeah, yeah. I
to
think one other thing you could do is to give each sibling like one veto card, and you can decide if it's per day or per week. Like if it's a particular song that the other one doesn't like, or if it's the whole genre. I'm just thinking of there's a few songs that one of my kids just could not handle, and so we could give them a veto card just for that one song, but then the other child does still get to choose.
great. Um, and I know you said I think the book has a lot of resources, but oh wait, here's a in the chat. Sorry, let me read that first. My mother used to say, whoever picked on the way to somewhere isn't the one for the ride home. So
Nice.
someone would get one on the way there and someone gets, oh, that's a great idea. So it helped to be fair. That's
Yeah.
great. Great suggestion. Um, I'm just thinking about, you know, I'm trying to remember how I exposed myself to different kinds of music. I was in Chicago for 20 years, so I went to the Old Town School of Folk Music all the time and got exposed to all kinds, and then did expose myself to a lot of classical music because my dad played piano classically when I was growing up. But um, you know, are there some resources you know, places you can send people? Are there other people putting out great lists of music for people to expose their children to different kinds, to stuff that's almost a guarantee that you're gonna love it? You know, the
Yeah.
great musicians around the world, or you know what I mean? The sort of the
Yeah.
they have
Well, one
plays.
of my favorite, let's see if I can multitask and put this in the chat. Um,
Well,
but
there's definitely,
Putumayo is
yeah.
yeah, they have so many
Putumayo.
yeah, they have world
Yeah.
playgrounds, they have many different regions, world playgrounds, and
Yes.
they also ethically source the music, so the musicians are compensated, so you can feel good about that aspect of it. Yeah, I have a chapter in the book about finding new music. So both acknowledging your own family's musical canon or like the music that's central to who you are as a family, but then also branching out and finding new music. One family I know had this really fun thing. They used Google Earth to randomly pick locations, and there were two parents, three kids. They each got a location, and then they planned a dinner that was food from that location, and then they listened to music from the location while they ate it. I could never pull that off as far as the food part of it, but maybe takeout food if you wanted to. So if you got takeout food from a certain region and then found some music from the region to listen to.
Um, yeah, that's great. That's a fun idea. And then Putumayo, yeah, I definitely use those in my classroom. And then just I went to so many concerts, I would just buy different things and learn, I
Yeah,
guess.
and
But
Cleveland is such a great place. For my podcast, I get to interview musicians, and the season I'm working on right now is all musicians from Cleveland. So the woman I was speaking with yesterday has a band here in Cleveland, and she was talking about how Cleveland is just an amazing place for every kind of music, and there's festivals, especially in the summer, Wait Over Wednesdays that we can go
mm,
to and hear different types of music, and then really again be that researcher of your child and notice, wow, my child is really drawn to this particular style, and then let's go find more of that on our streaming service or on YouTube and dig into that.
yeah, and maybe even trying different, radio stations. So there's a classical station, Idea Stream has, and then but they also have a jazz thing that you can stream now. And yeah, and WKSU had a folk show, I think. So someone just said, being pregnant, I listened to music all the time and it helped me to relax. After I had the baby, I continued to listen to the same music, and my child loved that music that I listened to. Different music and different languages. I'm not sure if I'm
Can I
reading it
comment
right.
on that one?
Music keeps us happy. Yes.
Yeah, so that is so wonderful that you noticed that your child liked the music that they heard while in the womb. And so that is a research finding that multiple researchers have corroborated, or they found it over and over again. And it's whatever music the mom listened to while pregnant, that's the music that calms the child. So actually it could be rap music, it could be heavy metal, but whatever it was the child was hearing, that's what the child will be calmed to I think they don't have a cutoff, but like especially the first 3 months, it's especially calming.
Yeah. Um, I loved listening to the lullaby CDs too that I had for my son. They relaxed me.
Yeah, well,
Um,
and I think that's again a really important thing to think about as we're using music with our kids. It can help us as parents to feel more calm, to feel more connected, to feel more grounded. But we're also then modeling for kids. These are things you can do as grown-ups. You can make a playlist for when you're cleaning. You can sing a song when you need comfort, because that would be the goal, I think, of a lot of this, that we're helping ourselves and our children in the moment, but then we're setting up patterns. Just like we want them to be lifelong readers, we want them to be lifelong musicers and people who use music to make their lives better.
yeah, and you can use it to yeah, to promote literacy again, like I noted. I did it in my classroom where we would sing every day. I think I started group time with the song Freight Train. It's a folk song, but I would incorporate the children's names in it. So freight train, run so fast. Freight train, run so fast. I don't care what train I'm on as long as Lisa and Grace are along. And then we'd incorporate everyone's
Uh-huh.
names. But I also think music again for in the car. When your children start elementary school or school, like, and as they get older, to really think about what does calm you, so that you can start the day, or what cheers you. Just so, say you had a stressful morning getting out of the house, if you can be on your way, when you're driving, use that as a transition time to help put you all in the the sort of the right mood and frame of mind. And again, Lisa talked about having, you didn't call it a growth mindset, but having a growth mindset about both your own abilities and but also about learning about music and exploring. Um, there's also, I found it and I'm hoping that this link might be interesting to people, so I'm going to try to put it in the chat. We just put the survey link in the chat. This is one, I'm hoping this is still good, but it's a link, the Cleveland Orchestra. During the pandemic, I was searching for any kind of content because I suggest to families to limit screen time, both quality and quantity, for children, young children in particular, because it really doesn't build brains effectively, but it can play a role. And I wanted, if people during the pandemic in particular, people were having to use screens for their children way more than they ordinarily would have chosen to. So I was trying to find good resources. So the Cleveland Orchestra has some great videos that where your child can learn about different instruments. They're made for children by the educators and I think some of the musicians. So if you want to just introduce them to different instruments and then there's the I'm sure there's like fun videos about the what's the guide to the who's the composer of the guide to the orchestra?
Oh, Benjamin Britten,
Is that the one? And what is it called again? That's
Young
the full
Person's Guide
title.
to the Orchestra.
Say it again.
The Young Person's Guide to the
The
Orchestra.
Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. So there's actually a piece of music, right? That's a piece of music called The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. And then there's some videos related to that that take you through um, all the different um, parts of the orchestra.
Mhm.
So that are kind of fun to look at. Either a video or like an interactive activity. You might be able to find it. And I'm just thinking, um, yeah, and I'm sure librarians could help you find um, books about music too. Like, so I tried to expose my son to books about, there's books about different kinds of music from around the world. There's
Yeah.
different books that incorporate that are about the orchestra. So
And
those are
actually,
fun to
in
explore.
in my book, at the end of each chapter, I have for further reading. So the one I just turned to, I highlighted Around the World in 80 Musical Instruments as a book, an illustrated guide to 80 musical instruments drawn from cultures worldwide, Music and How It Works, a complete guide for kids. And then Mama Lisa's World is an online resource with international children's songs and games. Oh, Joan, I think you're muted.
Okay. So uh we are coming to the end of our time, I think, or it's almost 7:30, and I don't see any more questions or things in the chat. So please fill out our survey. Um, Grace shared my colleague shared the link, and maybe we can share it one more time so it's easy for them to get. And again, people who fill out that survey will get entered into a drawing for one of 5 of the books by Lisa Koops, Dr. Koops, and we're so glad that you all joined us tonight. And I hope you got a lot out of it and some great ideas. Music really does help make the daily routines easier and more pleasant. When you're struggling with behavior or making those transitions happen, as she said, as a teacher, I can tell you it was critical, but as a parent also. So I hope you can incorporate some of this into your daily lives and find it really enriching and find joy, find calm, find stimulation and enrichment from it. Music is fabulous. And I just do encourage you to explore and have a growth mindset about your own learning about different kinds of music, trying it out with your child. Because I think as adults, it's our job, as our child's teacher, to expose them to the richness of the world. Human beings are amazing. we can be amazing, and there's so many people doing amazing things out there for us to appreciate and to remind ourselves of the wonder of music and what we can do when we play together, or even people who are playing alone. It's just there's so much good stuff. So enjoy. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Koops, for being here with us, for doing this with us. And we look forward to doing the one for infants. So in a couple weeks, we'll be sharing that out. And again, thank you. Do you want do you have a goodbye song you want to sing?
Um, let's sing goodbye together. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Let's sing goodbye together. Goodbye,
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 goodbye.
goodbye.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for
Hi,
coming.
everyone. Thanks. Welcome. I am